Well, good afternoon, everyone, and here we are, Karting Live TV. Been camped out at Whilton Mill for over a week here. We're back at Whilton Mill this weekend, though. It's all about the Junction 6 NKC. Round 5, the penultimate round of the 2025 Championship, and with the Championship in every single class still very much wide open, we are hoping for some very, and indeed, dynamic racing from all of our classes here this weekend. My name is Joe Bradley. I'm with you for the next hour or so, where we've got 3 heats to kick the weekend off, just 3 heats today, and then of course tomorrow morning from 9 a.m. all the way through to our all-important finals. We'll be bringing you everything from the Junction 6 NKC, all live and direct from Whilton Mill. Alongside me will be my ever-trusty assistant, Nick Damon. Nick, I'm not going to say welcome back to Whilton Mill because you've never been away.
I never left. No, you were just sunning yourself somewhere else.
Under the stairs, weren't you?
I shall be with you these first few minutes, and we will then leave you. Just 3 heats this afternoon. We're going to be 4, but due to a couple of people dropping out of the 177s, they're now going to have a complete... Everyone can fit into 1 heat now for the 177s. They're going to have 3 complete heats tomorrow. So we just have 3 heats. I think 2 seniors and a junior. So a quick smorgasbord, 40 minutes of fun this evening before a 9 o'clock start tomorrow of non-stop racing action all the way through to, I think, about 4:15 in the afternoon.
Well, it's a nice little warm-up for us, isn't it? It's my little practice session, my little warm-up session this afternoon. We've got senior Rotax out for 1 of 2 heats coming next. We've got a junior Rotax heat right in smack in the middle, but it's once again senior Rotax absolutely very well subscribed, overly subscribed,
loaded.
Some would say. Absolutely loaded, massive grids to give us 3 groups, A, B and C, and the first heat will be out with us very shortly. We're just finishing off this practice session for senior TKMs, and also, Nick, we've had some very, very exciting news announced this afternoon. If you manage to get a hold of the race programme, all of that information regarding the 2026 calendar is in there.
I've not even finished. We've got 2 rounds of 2025, but here is next year, provisionally, subject to confirmation.
Oh, absolutely, always provisionally at this stage. So 2026 already set in, wet concrete, I'm going to say.
And some bricks, by the looks of it.
Rather than stone. But kicking the season off down in South Wales at that lovely track, very challenging, very technical track at Landau. We go up the country, stay on the west side of the country to Rowra. That comes in May, so a little bit of a break in April with Landau kicking things off at the end of March. Nothing for you in April, and then round 2 at Rowra in May. Early June, we're back here at Whilton Mill for our middle of the season, or rounding off the 3rd round. Round 4, we go not too far away from here, actually, over to Shennington for the first weekend of July, and then up to the northeast of England to Wardenlaw, this time for between the 7th and the 9th of August, and then the I can't believe I'm talking about the 2026 Championship being rounded off at that stalwart of the UK karting scene, Clay Pigeon, rounding off in the beginning of September, rounding off 2026. But I've got to say, Nick, that it's quite commendable to the organisers, Ollie and Chris, putting in all the work, all the effort to tie things down, get circuits booked, because there is so much demand on UK karting.
Yeah, it certainly is a difficult thing, isn't it, to get a calendar together. To get one together so early, it's even better. I mean, it's a good one. We've got a couple of new places we've not been before. Shenny, well, not with the NKC. Shenny and Landau not been for 3 years, so it's a good variation on the theme, and it's always good to give people new challenges and new circuits.
Well, I've had a chat with a couple of our competitors, and they are more than happy. And what was said by at least 3 of the people I spoke to about next year was the mix of tracks. All of those tracks, very, very different in their very nature. Landau was quite unique with the layout there. Rowra, as unique as you could get, based in the quarry there just on the south of the Lake District. And Whilton Mill, Whilton Mill's pretty much you're quite a modern facility, fairly new.
It's right, permanently.
Yeah.
I think. I know you're mid-flow, but I think we have to stop talking about next year and
we
start
have
talking about this round.
Because, Nick, if you can get rid of the timing bar and the calendar for next year, and maybe even take out the chicane cam, because there is our first collecting area for the first heat of the weekend.
And here is our first grid.
And our first grid of senior Rotax will be looking very much like this, as it will appear on our screens when Nick presses the correct button. We're going to have the number 57, Ethan Martin, is starting on the pole position with Jamie Kirkbride alongside. Got Nathan Traverse and Ellis Beattie on the second row. Row 3 is Melissa Adrian and Matthew Lambert. Then got Scott Harewood alongside Ryan Shepherd. Reece Green and Nathan Jensen share row 5. Blake Ticehurst and Jamie Hardy are next up. Ben Ballou and Ben Harper are next. Former champion Bobby Rosier alongside Freddie Worlock on row 8. Current champion Jensen Watts, leading the championship coming into round 5, is on row 9 with Ryan Sayers. Dijon Bennett is alongside Daniel Knight. Kieran Gifford with the returning Christopher Hughes, having done Warden Law. He's going to do the round off the season, I think, is Chris Hughes on the number 81. Harvey Murden and William Eberhardt are next up. Samuel Wyatt and Zach Fletcher. Jamie Burton, Tommy Lee Davis. Samuel Christiansen and Paolo Nunes Aranda, with Jack Maidman, Charles Cheesy Green and Farad Arian rounding off the 33 cart field, as healthy as can be. Championship looking very much like no one's property, actually, because it is so wide open. Taking in drop scores, you've got Jensen Watts leading with 713 points counting. Bobby Rosier in second. Two former NKC champions battling it out still. And then you cannot discount Freddie Worlock. A little bit off in the points, with Ben Ballou coming up and Reece Green there in fifth. His man will be delighted. Fifth place in the championship coming in. Just to remind everybody, it's slightly different here in the Junction 6 NKC with regards to our heats and how we form the grid for them. It's mixed grids. What do we mean by mixed grids? If you're new to karting, well, mixed grids, we have no timed qualifying in the NKC. Each competitor will get a heat near the front, a heat in the middle, and a heat near the back. That's what we call mixed grids in UK karting, and it gives drivers a lot of experience in how to pass, how to be passed. And if you are one of the faster drivers at the back of the grid for your heat, well, it's all about moving forward. If you are not one of the faster drivers and you're at the front, it's all about holding up the drivers behind you as best as you possibly can and hanging on to that all-important position near the front of the grid to bring in those points going forward to the finals tomorrow afternoon. That's way off, though. We've got a lot of racing to get through, with the number 57, Ethan Martin, there jinking the car, swerving the car right and left just to get some heat. All on slick tyres. It's the Maxxis tyre. These tyres are into their second round here at Whilton Mill. They've already done a round at Warden Law, so there's a lot of energy gone through them. We're going to miss the Nouvelle chicane at the start and go through the final turn, where we will get underway, and it's quite literally into oblivion for the first time this weekend, as we go through the left and then the right at Crook, and then it's that very, very quick run up the hill towards Christmas Corner, quite literally up to Christmas, as the field. And have we got a false start? I think we have, yes. Bradley got overly excited there. A false start there. Got a bit of a clue when I saw somebody weaving around, keeping the heat in the tyres. So not quite to the liking of our starter, so we'll reconform. I'll get all excited again when we get this thing underway. And we've got the false start flags being shown around the marshal's posts, so all of the drivers now aware, fully aware of what is happening. Once again, Ethan Martin and JB Kirkbride bringing the carts round. Kirkbride racing with Guy Cunnington Racing this weekend. This part of the track, this hairpin right, the boot will, on the first racing lap, lead into the Nouvelle chicane, which has become a bit of an infamous part of any racetrack in UK karting. More of that later, because we're about to get underway. And it's a nice slow start, nice steady pace. They're right up onto the acceleration line. I think the starter like it this time. And again, into oblivion, racing this time for the first time this weekend here at Whilton Mill. The field through Crook and already up the hill towards Christmas. And we are indeed racing. There's a lot of movers and shakers. This is where you make up your ground, isn't it? Got to get moving forward. Got to take advantage. That late apex of Christmas. We've got a cart off on the grass there through the right-hander at Inkermans. And already carnage at the Ashby hairpin. The downhill left-hander off camber can catch you out so easy. Not going to criticise anyone for getting caught out on the first lap, as the leader is already with us at the Nouvelle Chicane. Across the curb there, just clatter the cart across the curb. Don't care about its welfare. As across the line, the leaders have gone. And it's Ethan Martin from the pole position from Nathan Traverse, Matthew Lambert, Melissa Adrian, Ellis Beattie, Scott Hayward, Jimmy Kirkbride, Reece Green up to 8th. Ryan Shepherd, Nathan Jensen rounding off the top 10 with Blake Ticehurst. They're just loitering outside that top 10. We've got the number 67, Nathan Traverse, has been overtaken by the number 10, Matthew Lambert, as we head down towards Wilkins. And then the left-hander at Osiers, and already on that back straight just in front of us here. We're in the timing and scoring tower, along with the timekeepers and the race officials, so we are right in the thick of it, as ever, at Whilton Mill for the Junction 6 NKC. And into the chicane for the second time. Leaders through and across the line. Ethan Martin, Matthew Lambert, Nathan Traverse, Melissa Adrian. No change for the rest of the field as Kieran Gifford comes up 4-5 places, with Jensen Watts hanging on to his tail. The number 2, Gifford, up to 8th. Jensen Watts carrying the number 1 is in 9th. And there's Blake Ticehurst eventually getting into the top 10. However, he's had to give Kieran Gifford and Jensen Watts the benefit of the doubt, and they've gotten ahead into that 8th and 9th place. The leader is looking composed, I've got to say, onto the back straight, I should say, into the boot. And our heats are all 8 minutes and 1 lap, remember. As Ethan Martin there, keeping quite a nice, comfortable cushion there between Matthew Lambert. Everybody just settling in at this stage, I would say. And there's no changes as Blake Ticehurst moves ahead of Jensen Watts. So that might be one to have a look at, Nick, if we can keep an eye on that 8th, 9th and 10th place. Some very, very quick drivers there in the form of Kieran Gifford on the number 2. The 2024 vice champion there is now coming under pressure from Blake Ticehurst, but that's the leaders there into Osiers. And then out. That looks pretty comfortable now for our leader, and our third place driver, Nathan Traverse, not in any kind of challenge, not being challenged at all. That's the number 336, which is Blake Ticehurst, who's trying all he can to get ahead of that number 40, Jimmy Kirkbride. Kirkbride has had to allow Kieran Gifford through as well. So Gifford up to 7th, Kirkbride holding off Blake Ticehurst on the number 336. Jensen Watts settling for 10th at the moment, but that's Jensen on the number 1, who has now got Blake Ticehurst moving ahead of Jimmy Kirkbride. So it's Kirkbride next on the list for Jensen Watts to get by. They're on the infield now. Ticehurst already moving away from the number 40. And it's going to be Jimmy Kirkbride, like I said, trying to hold on to these positions. He's got another 4 minutes though. We're just at the half distance from the first heat, as the rest of the field then make their way through Oblivion into Christmas Corner. And that's Kieran Gifford on the number 2, with Scott Hayward ahead of him, Ellis Beattie, Melissa Adrian on the number 100. Melissa there on the red and white helmet, or in the red and white helmet. The green and red helmet behind Melissa is Ellis Beattie on the number 29. And Ellis challenging down the inside, going into the boot. And that's a bit of a textbook move there. If he can stay ahead, it's going to be very difficult for anyone to overtake through the Nouvelle Chicane, and everybody has to slot in behind. Let's see who the movers and shakers are on this lap with 3 minutes remaining. Ellis Beattie up to 4th, Melissa Adrian 5th, Kieran Gifford, Blake Ticehurst ahead of Scott Hayward, and there's Jimmy Kirkbride. Jensen Watts still in 10th place, but things beginning to heat up now for Ellis Beattie and Melissa Adrian, who has got Kieran Gifford right there. Now Gifford's been given a bit of a warning there, contact warning for Kieran Gifford. So a little bit of an inevitability when people are racing so close. Ticehurst right there on the rear bumper of the number 2 as they head down the back straight towards the boot. Melissa's going to have her wits about her. She's trying to get that position back from Ellis Beattie on the Guy Cunnington, the green and orange livery of Guy Cunnington Racing there. on the number 29. Ahead of these, of course, Ethan Martin, Matthew Lambert, Nathan Traverse. That's your 1, 2, 3, and they're very, very comfortable, spaced out on those first 3 positions with the 2-minute bell, the metaphorical 2-minute bell, about to sound. Time beginning to close in on these drivers as Gifford down the inside at the Ashby hairpin, and Melissa Adrian has fallen foul for almost 3 carts as down the inside at the next left-hander at Wilkins. She's lost out again but fights back hard. But that's about 3 places that Melissa has been caught out there, hung out to dry into the Ashby hairpin. So easy to do, and things beginning to get cluttered. Now who's that on the number 9? That is a great Sam Wyatt on that lap, has gone from 12. Let's see where he's come through. He's just behind the number 6. And he's in 11th spot there, just behind Ben Ballou. So things beginning to get very, very hot there, going towards this checkered flag time in about 1 minute and 20 seconds. On the infield section now, towards the left-hander. This is the left-hander at Wilkins, which leads very, very quickly. These are quite medium-fast corners. They're not slow. They're very open hairpins. As we are already towards the boot there for the number 29 of Ellis Beattie, who has now got Blake Ticehurst. Ticehurst right on his bumper, and right on Ticehurst's bumper is Kieran Gifford. We are inside 51 seconds. They're going to get 2 more laps of this race. So heat 1. The first heat of round 5 here at Wilton Mill for the Junction 6 NKC is getting already very, very intense, as these drivers absolutely needing to get up the order and overtake the carts in front of them. Oh, and going very wide indeed has gone Ellis Beattie, and that has allowed Blake Ticehurst and Kieran Gifford to go through, and indeed Scott Hayward, and he just went in too narrow. Understeered to the outside. He was defending, and that just Ticehurst just thought, yes, I'll have that, please. As unfortunately for Ellis Beattie, Ellis fighting the cart to turn right down that off camber right-hander. 2 seconds on the clock there as these gone through. The leaders have already gone through, though, in good time for another couple of laps of racing. So it is going to be 1 more after this, I should say. So my calculations were just out, of course. With 2 more laps on the clock. Can Kieran Gifford there on the red, white and blue cart get ahead of the orange and white and blue of the Coles Racing cart of Blake Ticehurst? Ticehurst currently 7th in the championship. He hasn't won a round here in the NKC this year. Not for the want of trying, of course. Kieran Gifford absolutely mullering the Nouvelle chicane. As we head into the last lap then, we'll try and pick up Ethan Martin, who is just coming down to the Ashby hairpin now through Inkermans. And we'll be trying to pick up our leader, Ethan Martin, who has led from the pole position in very fine style and a very composed style. Ethan just about to come out onto the back straight towards the boot as this Ticehurst and the number 2 Kieran Gifford fight it out. There's the leader, though, into the boot for the final time, across the curb at the chicane, and it's a very composed win for Ethan Martin, who takes first place in heat number 1. Matthew Lambert, an equally composed second place, with Nathan Traverse following them through. Nicely spaced out, those 3, but that was where the heat was. Blake Ticehurst in 4th, Kieran Gifford 5th, Scott Hayward in 6th, Ellis Beattie 7th, Ben Ballou was 8th. Jensen Watts finally made up another place tonight. Melissa Adrian fell back to 10th, and just outside the top 10 we had Sam Wyatt, Bobby Rosier, Freddie Worlock, Ben Harper and Ryan Shepherd. The rest of the finish, I noticed there as well, Charles Cheesy Green was left by the wayside somewhat, with no laps completed. Daniel Knight we lost on lap 5, and so again a race of incident with some contenders there, with Cheesy Green not scoring any points there. That will give him the need to perhaps have a damage limitation exercise for the rest of the weekend. We are into Junior Rotax next. for their first heat. We've got a 34-card grid this time. And we'll be having a look at the grid. And with the pole sitter, Joshua Pagden, he will line up on the pole position with Jacob Aston alongside. We've then got on the second row Matthew Lidle and Tyler Rackham. Ewan Scott and Travis Rose are on row 3. Jensen Hartshorn and Barnaby Grubber next. James Finley and Nathan Edwards on row 5. We've got Caden Welsh and Eddie King. Eddie we speak to in the Paddock Show, which you can see in the break tomorrow, or it's available on YouTube this evening, actually, when Nick puts it up there. I think he already has. Bailey Heath and Ethan Hunter on row 7. Riley Thatcher and Elsie Bonning are next up. Row 9 is Jake Walker and Leo Steed. We've got Daniel Vizinyaukas and Leo Basterfield on row 10. Jacob Felton and Billy Collinger next. Max Carlton and Nathan Rond, who again, Nathan is another driver we speak to in the Paddock Show. George Kay and Spencer Treon are next. Logan Hartshorn and Alexander Stevanov are next up. On row 15, Liam Crosby and Leighton Kelly. And then we've got Sam Green Gomez, Warwick Milam, Joseph Orton and Tobias Johns are the drivers that round off the 34-card grid. The senior Rotax drivers making their way in, and with a very nice look at that Coles. Is that a Coles display? A Coles viewing area. They all look like it is. Coles Racing bringing their truck roof to Whilton Mill, giving them a very good overview. I'm not sure they're going to be using any hand signals to warn their drivers of anything. They're just on the outside of the boot. So drivers pretty focused on exiting the boot and heading for the curbs of the Nouvelle Chicane to be able to look up to their left to see their team personnel offering their support. Perhaps we should think about a commentary position that high. And you see everything then. Or you need to see what's on the screen in front of me, though. We've got a very cloudy day here. The weather forecast for the weekend was supposed to be warmer than this, which I was kind of hoping for. I've become a bit declimatised. But it's been cloudy skies. We expected the cloud to break towards 5 o'clock, which it hasn't. It's kept the temperature quite cool and chilly, if you ask me, with people having to put their top coats on. And the forecast tomorrow is for no rain. It's for a bright and sunny day, and with temperatures being a little bit hotter than we have at the moment, that's going to give the drivers a little bit of a challenge in keeping their tyres or stopping their tyres from overheating. You can see we've been practicing. There was a test here on Wednesday. There was a full day's practice test session yesterday for all of our competitors. Wednesday was optional, of course, as was yesterday, but a lot of the competitors here choosing to test certainly all day yesterday. So there's a lot of rubber gone down. We've had a very, very dry spell in the for the UK summer, which everyone's enjoying, apart from the grass, which is, I've got to say, not looking as brown as some places we've been lately. With drivers beginning to get used to pulling out of the paddock on cold tyres. There had a couple of spinners just coming through Crook Corner after Oblivion. And with the grid just beginning to form up, Joshua Pagden and Jacob Aston beginning to form up the grid now. Everybody, stragglers just coming off the back straight, so I doubt they'll get this thing underway this time. I would imagine this junior Rotax field will get another run at it. We've got the false start. Yep, everybody giving that international signal of once more around, the waving of the finger. And everybody gets a chance to put another lap of heat into those slick tyres. What do we mean by that? Well, karts run on slick racing tyres. No tread. We'll not see any tread on tyres until it starts to rain. It's a racing slick, which is very, very good and very grippy when it gets up to its operating temperature. However, it's absolutely useless when it's not up to its operating temperature. It's absolutely useless when it's stone cold. And it can catch drivers out, as we've seen. As one of the Racing Perfection Burrell Art drivers has a problem to put him out of the race. It's Jacob Felton who's fallen foul of something there. Problem with the kart there. As the field being led by Joshua Pagden brings the grid around. Let's hope he doesn't get the acceleration too swiftly and keeps things in steady progression towards that acceleration line. That's what the race starters like to see. No premature acceleration. Nice pace up to the line. And I think we're going to get this underway. The red lights have gone out and we are racing into oblivion through the left-hander. The field look like we've made it out of Crook Corner already up to Christmas Corner. Lots of drivers taking advantage. Somebody sliding very wide there, and he's going to have lost about 3 or 4 places there. Not quite sure. It was a purple and blue cart. As we've got the 108 of Ewan Scott there being caught out, and again Ashby catching a lot of these drivers out on the first lap with quite a number of carts going wide. We'll keep an eye on Ashby, I think, all day tomorrow, as down the inside of the number 46 Matthew Lytle has gone the number 108 of Ewan Scott, and he's gone up a place into third spot there as they come across the line for the first time. It's Aston, Rackham, Scott, Lytle, Barnaby Grubb, Eddie King, Travis Rose, Caden Welch up 10 places to 10th from 20th on the grid has gone George Kay. Leo Basterfield up 4 places to 11th. And it looks like we've lost our pole position driver. Where has our pole position driver gone? Joshua Pagden was the driver I had down as starting at the front of the field. As the flex cart of Ewan Scott looks very racy indeed, coming up to the back of Tyler Rackham out of the Nouvelle chicane and across the line. Rackham on the 63 using all of that curb and losing a bit of momentum, I think, and that's allowed Ewan Scott on the yellow and blue flex team colours into second place, and off and after the number 19 Jacob Aston, who's already pulled about a second gap there. We've only had 2 minutes of racing there, and already the leader has pulled a gap. Now Ewan Scott will try his best to pull away from Tyler Rackham, which he's doing, and in so doing closing that gap to Jacob Aston. We'll see what the gap is across the line. It was a second, the gap to the lead, as Matthew Lytle loses out to Barnaby Grubb as the gap has come down. No, it's gone up to 1.4 seconds. Jacob Aston extending the lead to Ewan Scott. Tyler Rackham up into third. Up into fourth has gone Barnaby Grubb. Matthew Lytle dropping to fifth. Travis Rose up into sixth ahead of Eddie King. Caden Welsh eighth. Leo Basterfield. Riley Thatcher, the driver on the number 83, rounding off the top 10 there. As again, what we're seeing here is just drivers being patient. I've got to say uncharacteristically patient, and just making their way through, dare I say it, without much incident. As I say that, we're 3 wide through Osiers, and then on 2, and it's the number 16 of Travis Rose trying to communicate to the drivers around him of just let's not fight and squabble, let's catch the guys in front, let's catch the drivers who are ahead of us. However, drivers have got other plans, it seems. No change in the top 12, as once again the middle section of the track there being hugged by Tyler Rackham, was it? No, it was Travis Rose on the 16. He's got everybody piling in there. Eddie King taking advantage of the situation, and everybody being bottled up behind Travis. No fault of Travis, he's doing a great job, and he's lost out to the number 46 of Matthew Lytle. Matthew Lytle ahead as Travis Rose goes ahead of Lytle again. And Lytle seems to be struggling with a very, very oversteery cart there. The number 46 of Matthew Lytle fighting that rear end, and that's causing him time up towards Christmas then. And again, getting very crowded there. Oh, and the number 83, that's the 67 off on the outside of the final turn. Disconsolate shrug of the shoulders there for Nathan Rond. Nathan hoping to get so much from this weekend. Into Osiers, getting very crowded through there. I have no idea who is where. I'm going to just check this as they cross the line, but it's getting very, very bunched up into the boot there. Everybody piling in there. I'll be amazed if there's no nose-cone penalties taken in this one. As Aston has gone through, Ewan Scott second, Tyler Rackham, Barnaby Grubb, Travis Rose. It was Leo Basterfield that came through in sixth, ahead of Matthew Lydell and Eddie King. Got Riley Thatcher and Caden Welch there waiting in the wings. Caden Welch, he is on the red and gold. It looks like a battle for third and fourth. This, the number 12, Barnaby Grubb. Travis Rose chasing him down. Across the line then, just ahead of them. Barnaby Grubb has gone ahead of Tyler Rackham now. Travis Rose has dropped back from this battle for fourth. That was a place change actually. Barnaby Grubb had gotten by Tyler Rackham. And if anything, the Nib Sport driver on the number 12 pulling away from Rackham. It's not going to be long before Travis Rose is going to be right on the tail of Tyler. We're inside of 2 minutes then. This is the first heat for Junior Rotax. And with things beginning to get spaced out now that Barnaby Grubb has gotten by Tyler Rackham, he's got a bit of a cushion there as the leaders go through. Jacob Aston leading, Ewan Scott got out at 2.5 seconds, so Ewan Scott not able at all to catch Jacob Aston. There's that train of carts there that is still being led by Travis Rose. Travis Rose, Leo Basterfield, Riley Thatcher, Matthew Lydell, Leo Speed, Warwick Milam and Nathan Edwards up into 10th and 11th there. 4 wide almost into Christmas Corner. It's the number 123 of Warwick Milam who's gone up about 4 places there. Warwick Milam used all of that momentum up the hill towards Christmas, and he has gone forward an immense amount of places there. We'll check just how many he's gone by as the leaders. The number 19, Jacob Aston, and we've got a Battenberg. This is going to close things right up. What do we mean by a Battenberg? Well, if you're familiar with the Formula One virtual safety car, it's kind of like that. The lead driver, who in this point is Jacob Aston, who lifted off as he came by me, and I thought, problem with the car. Now, that was a 2.5 second lead that has gone to absolutely nothing. It's gone to absolute inches to Ewan Scott now. So he's got to slow down to half race pace, and he will lead the field round, and he will act as the safety car until we go back to green. So it's effectively a full course caution without the safety car. Jacob Aston acting as that. So let's get a brief on who is where. Jacob Aston, Ewan Scott, Barnaby Grubb, Tyler Rackham, Travis Rose, Leo Basterfield. That's your top 6. Riley Thatcher, Warwick Milam went ahead of Nathan Edwards and Matthew Lydell. Caden Welch just outside in the top 11. He's 11th. Leo Steed, Eddie King dropping to 13th. I'm not quite sure what this Battenberg was for. I think we've got a cart off on the run up to Christmas. So we had 2 carts coming together at the chicane, I'm being told. That is what has brought this out. And I think we're about to go green, and it will be one more lap of racing. Are we going green? No, we're not. We are not going green. In fact, the checkered flag has come out. Checkered flag flies. A lap early by my estimate, that was Nick. But we have called the checkered flag. So the result of the first heat for Junior Rotax then, Jacob Aston takes the win. Ewan Scott was in second place, Barnaby Grubb third, Tyler Rackham fourth, Travis Rose was fifth. Then we had Leo Basterfield, Riley Thatcher, Warwick Milam with a great move there on the couple of laps ago. Nathan Edwards, Matthew Lydell, and then we had just outside the top 10, Caden Welch, Leo Steed, Eddie King, Sam Green Gomez and George Kay. The rest of the finishers there on the timing board. We lost Joseph Orton, we lost Nathan Rond, and Elsie Bonning as well went out on lap 3. So already carts in the collecting area for the senior Rotax. Second heat. And this is the first heat for all of these drivers, even though it's the second of our senior Rotax heats. This will be the first heat for these drivers that we will have a look on the grid rundown. When Nick gives us the grid, yep, he's just drifting a little bit. Taylor England then will start on the pole position with Rafi Salentano alongside. Chase Rainsbury and Jack Theobald are on row 2. Got Mason Perrin on the number 4. Leo French alongside. Harvey Quick and Joshua Priest on row 4. Jacob Martin and George Hume are on row 5. Then Adam Catling, Shane Downer, Isaac Reynolds, Tristan Sharp on row 7. John Hobbs, Bradley Howes are on row 8. Ollie Varney on the number 5 alongside Dylan Brayley. We've got Charlie Hume and Jacob Hobbs, George Esgrove and Ethan Farrell. And then on row 12, Harvey Williams and Alexander Campbell. Brodie Skinner, Reece Knight are next up. Ethan Lomax and Ethan Wyatt start next. And then on row 15, Brandon Klein-Nagelvort, who is a big welcome name to the NKC. Haven't seen him for a while. Alexander Colentiano was alongside. Finlay Underwood and Luke Evans, with Maxim Smith rounding off a 33 kart field. So once again, 8 minutes and 1 lap for this heat, as we have got 1 or 2 karts to recover. That's going to take some time, as we will give you an idea of what's coming up for the rest of tomorrow. We've got all of our heats to get through. We start with the senior Rotax heat in the morning at 9 a.m. and we'll be on air live for you about 5 minutes before that, I would think, for Nick and I to have a bit of a chat, just set things up for the day. And then we're pretty much solid through all of our heats. And I'm just checking to see if we've got any info. No, we haven't. I think we're probably going to have a C final, Nick, for senior Rotax. C final for senior Rotax. A B final for... Say that again? No B final for 177. B finals for juniors and seniors. And then our all-important finals, which is where the trophies are given out for the top 5 still in the NKC. Top 5 for trophies. But second heat for senior Rotax, the championship I mentioned earlier, being led by Jensen Watts. Very tense situation for Jensen. Retaining a championship, winning a championship is extremely hard to do. Retaining a championship, well, you know how hard that is. What I didn't get a chance to mention was the Junior Rotax Championship. We've just had the first heat for them. Well, that championship is being led by Jaden Sherwood. Again, with dropped scores all to play for. Jaden Sherwood on 709 points. Dylan Morton on 695. So only 14 points in it there. And that's absolutely nothing. That can disappear in the blink of an eye. Jaden Sherwood carrying the number 2. Dylan Morton carrying the number 9. So both top 10 finishes in the 2024 series. In third place, not that far away on 684, is Aidan Large. Finlay Hines is on 671. And then just behind them, Riley Thatcher on 669. Sixth place, Nathan Edwards, 667. Archie Dyson on 655. Jacob Aston is next up in 8th. Leo Basterfield, Kai Pepperell. Barnaby Grove just outside the top 10 on 620. So again, still, with 2 rounds to go, that championship is very, very much wide open indeed. And the senior Rotax, likewise. Senior Rotax, very, very tense business. Jensen Watts, current champion, wants to retain that number 1 for the Racing Perfection Burrell Art team. Bobby Rosier, of course, Bobby, a former NKC champion, in second. The points are 713 for Jensen Watts, 692 for Bobby Rosier, 671 for Freddie Worlock in third, and then Ben Ballou just not far away on 664. Now the thing is, with the NKC, you don't drop a round, you drop individual heats and finals. So you can drop heat 1 from round 1, heat 2 from round 3, heat 3 from round 4, and so on and so forth. So it's very much a dynamic championship table, which kind of makes it virtually impossible all the way up to the final heat, final of the season for us to kind of fathom out who is in contention and what is happening. And then, of course, you've got all results are provisional because we have to go through a tech inspection. No surprise, we've got the full start flag, and we will go around once again and give these drivers, not deliberately, I'm not sure what the starter was unsettled with there, or disgruntled with, I should say, but we're sending them round again, and it will give the drivers a chance to get some heat into the tyres, into the brakes, so it'll give you a consistent brake pedal and indeed a consistent tyre. Tyres should be coming up to their optimum temperature by about lap 2 or 3 here. It's not a cold day, but it's not a warm day either. It's got that chilly breeze that has kept the sun away. The cloud cover hasn't dissipated as it was forecast to do, and hence we've got a cooler day than what everyone was expecting. If the forecast to be believed, it's going to be bright and sunny tomorrow. It's going to be pretty scorchio, but we'll wait and see what tomorrow brings. As right now, we've got our grid just coming out the boot. And if our pole position driver, Taylor England and Rafi Salentano on the number 46, Taylor England on the pole, into oblivion, then again we go. And it's a daunting left and right section here to start the lap off. Karts going off at a tangent there. Not quite sure who that was. It was a blink of an eye, and already a move down into Christmas. The late apex, or was it the fact that the kart wouldn't turn because of cold tyres? We'll see. It's a Birrell Art that leads. The number 60 is Chase Rainsbury. He's off into the lead. We've got bits of exhaust flying off, it looked like that. So things beginning to get all very heated as we look at this once again into turn 1. And then somewhere in the mid-pack, somebody got turned around or spun off. And literally, how he was not T-boned, I will never know. He needs to put a lottery ticket on. That could have been very naughty there on lap 1. Always the heat of battle there at the very highest intensity. It's Mason Perrin who will lead this race towards Christmas for the second time. Rafi Salentano is Kieran Gifford Racing colours there in second place. I think it's Kieran Gifford Racing. Might even be an MPR. Might be Mason Perrin actually that he drives for. Taylor England, George Hume, Joshua Priest, Chase Rainsbury dropped to 6th there by the time they got. He was leading into and out of Christmas was Chase, and then he got bundled down to 6th place by the time they made way round to the start-finish line. Leo French, Bradley Howes, Jacob Martin and Dylan Brayley. We've got a black flag for Jacob Martin. He's the one who's lost his exhaust, and you can hear him. You can hear him in the pack, that exhaust there, not being muffled at all. As George Hume moves ahead of Taylor England. There he goes, I can hear him. So black flag for Jacob Martin, a mechanical flag for Jacob Martin, which has been followed by a black flag because he didn't see the mechanical flag. I'm not sure he can't hear that. That's the number 60 who we saw, Chase Rainsbury, making great progress. Oh, and are coming together there as 3 karts trip over themselves. Leo French, Bradley Howes are the karts involved. Not sure how that's panned out. That's all settled down on the back straight, but there a lunge into the boot from the number 93. Or is that the 83? Is it the 83? It's a Lando Norris kart, and it's Bradley Howes. No, it's Brandon Klein-Nagelvoort. Welcome back, Brandon Klein-Nagelvoort. There, down the inside. It was indeed the 93. He's on a Dan Holland Racing liveried kart. I'm not sure if he's with... Well, Dan Holland's here, isn't it? Dan Holland's the... this is the home track for Dan. His workshop's just out the back there. So he could well be that Brandon is with DHR. On the back straight then, heading towards the boot. That's Leo French from the 83, Bradley Howes. And it doesn't look like Bradley Howes is intent on staying behind that bright yellow and blue kart of Leo French. Leo's job is to keep him behind as they come out of the crook right-hander and on towards Christmas. Now, Christmas corner is a much faster right-hander than it looks. It looks like a hairpin. It's not quite a 180-degree hairpin, and it's got a very fast entry, very wide track there, up there. You can absolutely throw the kart in, getting towards half distance there, and things beginning to heat up there in the battle between Leo French and Bradley Howes. As we move towards the 91 of George Hulme, has got Rafi Salentano just behind him. Across the Nouvelle chicane, Mason Perrin leading still. And Mason Perrin beginning to pull away now from George Hulme. The gap's out to just under 0.8 of a second. So it's not massive. It's a bit of a cushion though for him. As the number 68 there, Taylor England, now right on the bumper of Salentano. Turning right through Ashby, using all of the curb and almost having a look down the inside. Momentum from Salentano was absolutely kept up there. Heading towards the boot. 3.5 minutes remaining. Some neat driving here from all of these drivers. Got a little bit hectic there in the early stages, but things beginning to settle down now. And we've got the Taylor England, number 68 there. Taylor just looking like he's doing all he can to have a look down the inside. Salentano makes the job hard. Not hard enough though, as Taylor England had the momentum through Crook. Salentano coming back at him. Can he have a look down into Ashby? No, he cannot. And that has allowed Taylor England a little bit of a breather. They're side by side going toward, and he's back at him. Salentano back into that third place. This is great racing from these two. Giving each other room, allowing each other the space to make those moves. You need a little bit of compromise from the driver that you're overtaking. And look at that. Once again, we've got the situation resuming through oblivion there as Taylor England latches onto the bumper. This is where he had to go last time. Salentano doesn't need to defend though. He's got momentum, pulling alongside towards Ingermans, and that was really brave. It was all about coming out of Christmas Corner. Salentano coming under pressure from Joshua Priest now, as England has now made that move. And it was all about, the last time it was into Christmas, this time it was all about out of Christmas. How he kept that momentum through the left-hand sweep towards the right-hander there at Ingermans. By the time they got to Ingermans, it was done deal. Taylor England out of the Nouvelle chicane and across the line. He will show in third place ahead of Salentano. Now in fourth, Joshua Priest on the black and purple card. Joshua looking like he wants to challenge. Here comes the Dan Holland racing card of Brandon Klein-Nagelvoort in sixth. Leo French, Bradley Howes, Ethan Lomax, Charlie Hulme rounding off the top 10. This is a battle that has developed for the lead with just over a minute remaining then. Mason Perrin has lost what was almost a second to George Hulme, has now come right back at him. And George almost onto the rear bumper of Mason Perrin. Mason, remember, a former junior Rotax champion in the NKC and fourth in the 2024 championship. Carrying the number 4 seeded driver in this series, but about to be challenged quite strongly, I would say, by George Hulme. They're going to have 2 more laps after this one. Down towards Ashby. You can easily overcook it through here as it's massively off camber there. That exit curve just pulling you in. No track limits, of course, here in the NKC. Using all of the curb and more. As much of the curb as you can, actually, to keep the momentum there. Into the boot. Just look how racy George Hulme's looking. Into the chicane. Need to be clean through here. Bouncing across the curb there. Across the line. 8 seconds on the clock. It's going to be the 1 lap to go board next time by. And can Hulme have a go? They come out of Crook. Now heading down, charging down to Christmas Corner. Mason Perrin doesn't have to defend. Are we going to see it? No, we're not. We're not going to see what we saw from Taylor England and George Hulme. Early days, isn't it? First heat for these drivers. So discretion being the better part of valour, I think, in their attitude towards making that move. Or is it George Hulme waiting his time, biding his time? He's a hard driver to pass, is Mason Perrin. He's very, very quick on all parts of this track, and it's going to be very difficult for George Hume. He's going to have to really think about this. Again, clattering across the curb. There's the last lap board. Mason Perrin looking over his shoulder. George Hume's still there. He can't make a mistake. He cannot make any mistake. Towards Christmas Corner. Here they come. No mistake made. Braking at the very latest. He knows he's under pressure from George Hume, and if anything, Mason Perrin's just up to gear, hasn't he? Down towards the hairpin at Ashby. He's up to gear. Looks up. Only I don't know what that means, Mason. Tapping your helmet on the last lap, mate. Don't have a go at me. What he's saying is use your head, George. Don't make any do or die moves, because we'll all end up with 0 points if you do. And George Hume's been very, very circumspect here and very clever, I would say. He knows how hard it was to get past Mason Perrin. And again, discretion being the better part of valor. Second place is better than 30th. As Mason Perrin takes first. George Hume second. Taylor England hung on to third. Brandon Klein-Nagelvoort, welcome to the NKC, Brandon, up into fourth. Rafi Salentano fifth. Joshua Priest sixth. Bradley House seventh. Leo French eighth. Ethan Lomax ninth. And Charlie Hume running off the top 10. There's the rest of the finishers just coming through now. Ethan Wyatt went out on lap 7. Jacob Martin went out on lap 2. And we lost Tristan Sharp at the very beginning of this race. So a bad move from then. Well, everybody, that concludes our coverage of the Junction 6 NKC. The first 3 heats, giving us a nice little warm-up going into the full day's racing tomorrow. We'll be back around 5 to 9, racing starting at 9 o'clock. And we'll be bringing you all of the action, everything, including Nick and High.
Good night.
Bickering.
No.
Like an old married couple.
We have a big fan in Morocco who wants us to bicker.
Yes. Enjoys that
actually is a true statement.
It is, yes. Well, Nick, thanks for cutting the pictures there. There was some great...
Sometimes you've got to get it right, haven't you?
Some great racing there. Yeah, a little bit frustrating now and again, but there we are, bickering again. Anyway, good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow back at Whilton Mill.
The whole 70s variety stuff. Good night and God bless.
Good night and God bless. Absolutely, indeed. See you at 5 to 9 in the morning.
Bye.